Today we're going to learn how to use the sequence function in Microsoft Excel. Hello everyone, welcome to Excel 10 tutorial. Sequence function is a function that will help you create sequential number like serial number. You can create a serial of date, you can create a serial of percentage, and anything you need sequential, it can be done. This is a very powerful function in Microsoft Excel, which is available in Microsoft 365 and Excel 2021 and newer version. It works quite similar like fill series, and I have created a video on fill series previously. You can check that out, and this is a bit advanced of fill series. Also, if you combine this function with other functions, it can be very efficient for your work. And today we're going to learn what are the parameters of the sequence function and how we can use it, and also we will see some practical use and some complex calculation with sequence function that will help you understand the function further. So let's get started. First we need to write the sequence function, and before that I want to clarify that sequence function is an array function. It uses spelled array, and the best way to learn a function is to apply it, and I'm going to apply the function here. I'm going to write equal to and then write sequence. And here is the sequence function. You can see the tooltip says returns a sequence of numbers. This is the main task for this function, returns a sequence of numbers. So we are going to double click here. We have 4 parameters here. The first one is mandatory parameters, and the rest of them are optional. If you want, you can use them. If you don't want, you can leave them as it is. The sequence first parameter is rows, and I'm going to write here the row number. That means how many row of sequential number do you want. So I'm going to add 10 because I want sequential number from 1 to 10 in the following 10 rows. So I'm going to close parenthesis. This is our mandatory parameters, and we don't need any other parameters, so we have close parenthesis, and I'm going to press enter. You can see we don't need to drag the formula, we don't need to copy it down. It has automatically spilled the formula to the rest of the rows, and it has placed a sequential number from 1 to 10 for us. Now we have a sequential number from 1 to 10. As I said earlier, this is an array function, and it's an spelled array function. So let's write here a text, okay, and let's change the function. Let's say I want 15 rows of sequential number, but we have text in row 12. If I press enter, we'll get an spell error because there is something inside our range, so this function cannot paste its data. If we remove it, it will automatically start working. So this is why you will have to be careful. You cannot write anything inside your matrix, okay? Now let's check the second parameter. So we have created a sequential row number. Let's remove it and start from beginning. I'm going to write here equal to and sequence again. Now if I double click here, the first parameter is row. If I omit it, it will automatically be entered as 1. You cannot enter 0 in row and column parameter. It will not work. If I add 1, it will still work, or if I add comma and just move on without inputting any value, it will also work, okay? So I have added a comma and I have moved on the next parameter, which is column. So let's write here 10. And then I'm going to close parenthesis because I don't want any further input. As they are optional, it will still work, okay? Now the formula we have created, we have added the sequence function, we have omitted the main parameter, which is row, and added a comma, and we move to the next parameter, and then we add 10. This should give us a sequential number from 1 to 10 in the next 10 column. This is why our second parameter column is 10. If I click in this value, you can see the second parameter is column. So this data will be spilled over to the next 10 columns, okay? And it will be in the same row, which automatically added 1 here. If we want, we can write that. If we want, we can skip that. It will still work. Now if I press enter, and you can see we get a serial number from 1 to 10 automatically using the sequence function. Now let's remove the function and write it again to explain the next parameters. Equal to sequence, double click here. Now we have row, columns, start and step value. Now let's write here 10 rows. We don't want any columns. Then start number, let's start with 100, and the step value, let's not touch it yet. Close the parentheses and press enter. We get a sequential number from 100 to 109 over the next 10 rows. Now let's remove it. Let's check another parameter which is equal to sequence. Now I don't want any rows. Let's spill it to the next 5 columns. The start value, let's add the value is 300, and the step value, let's add the step value to 5. Okay, now if I close parentheses, this should work like this. The first value will be 300 and the next value will be 305, and then 10, and then 15, and go on. Okay, you can see our step value has been changed from 1 to 5 because we have specified that in our formula, which is step value, and we have 5. Okay, start value was 300. We added the sequential number through our columns and we have omitted the rows. Okay, now we can add row and column at a time. Let me show you how. If I write here equal to sequence, double click here, let's say I want 3 row and 3 column, so I'm making a 3 by 3 matrix here. Start value will be 100 and step value, let's add 3 here, and if I close parenthesis, add, here is our value. We get a 3 by 3 matrix with sequential number from 100 and step value is 3. Let's change the step value to 1 for now. Here our 3 by 3 matrix is 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here the sequential number is going from left to right, from column to column. Let's say 100 is cell D3 and 101 is cell E3. What if you want the 101 in cell D4? So you want this sequence like this, not like this. We can do this using transpose function. If I combine the transpose function with the sequence function, we can reverse that, and I'm going to show you how. So I'm going to write here transpose, and here we just enclose this with parentheses, and if I press enter, you can see we have changed it. 100, 101, 102, and then again 103, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What if we had a 3 by 5? And you can see our sequence function was 3 by 5. That means we had to had 5 columns, but instead here we had 3 columns, and this is because we used the transpose function. If we remove the transpose function from here and press enter, we have 3 rows and 5 columns. So you can enter specific data in a matrix format. Okay, let me show you another example. If I write here equal to sequence, double click here, and I want 10 rows and close parentheses, press enter. We have got a sequential number from 1 to 10 in a single column, and it expanded to 10 rows. Now if I transpose it, and you can see we just changed the direction, and now we have these numbers in a single row and it has expanded up to 10 columns. Okay, so this is how you can combine sequence function with transpose function. You can enter negative number as step value inside sequence function. Here is how. Write equal to sequence, double click on the function, and our row should be 10. Our column, we don't need it. Our start value, let's start with 5, and our step value, let's add -1. Remember, you need to add a comma for each parameters. Okay, whenever you complete entering a parameter, make sure you add a comma, and that will help you to go to the next parameter. Okay, here we omitted the column parameter and we added a comma also. Now if I close parentheses and press enter, you get a sequential number with a negative step value. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is negative value. You can also get decimal numbers too. For that, let's write here equal to and then sequence. Let's add 10 rows. We don't need any columns. Okay, let me show you. If we want to omit column, we can also add 1 as a parameter, and it will still work the same, and it will also look better on your function. So if I add a blank comma, it looks odd, but if I add 1, it looks okay. That means if someone else is working on this function, he will not have any problem understanding which parameter represent what. Let's say I'm going to add a start value of 0.01, and our step value is also 0.01. So I close parentheses and press enter, and you can see we have a sequential decimal number. And if you think about it, you can now convert it into a sequential percentage. For that, just select the range and then click on percentage. Now you have a sequential percentage. So you can automatically enter sequential decimal number and then convert it as percentage. So sequence function can work with percentage also. If you want, you can work with date inside sequence function. What if we want a sequential date from today's date to next 7 days? For that, I'm going to write here sequence, and then the first parameter, let's write here 1, and the second parameter column, we want a 7-day date. We want date for the next 7 days. That is our column parameter here, and then our starting value should be today's date. So we can get that using today function. And now our starting point will be today's date, and our step will be 1 automatically. And if I close parentheses, and let me explain it again. So our sequence first parameter is row number, which we didn't omit here. We added 1, which is same. That means we want only data inside a single row, which is row 3 in this case. Okay, and then we want the date to spill next 6 row. If you include this one where we are writing our formula, it will total 7 column span. So we are spilling this function to the next 7 columns. This is why we had 7. Starting point will be today's date and step value will be 1. If I press enter, we get serial number from today's date to the next 7 days. Now it doesn't look like date yet, but if we click on this drop down number format and add a short date, we get our date sequence, which is today's date 28th May, and then we get a sequential date of next 7 days. Now if you want, you can get a day name sequence. Right click here, format cells, click on custom, and from here if we change the type and write here DDD and again D, which will give us full day name. Okay, if I click here, and you can see you can change it with a day sequence, with a month sequence, and even if you want, you can create year sequence using the sequence function. So we get a sequential name Wednesday to Tuesday. Okay, let's get a 10-year sequential number from this year using the sequence function. I'm going to write here equal to sequence. I want single row and I want 10 years, so it will spill over 10 columns. And now our starting point will be our year from this year. So we are going to add year function here, and inside the year function the parameter is serial number, where we will write today. So this will give us this year. It will take today's date and convert it into year, and that will be our starting number. And the next parameter will be step, which is 1. And if I close parentheses and press enter, we get random serial number, date, and a lot of things, because we had formatted it differently few moments ago. So we are going to clear format, and we have our date 2025 to 2034. So this is how you can get a sequential year using the sequence function. We can convert it from column to rows, and you can use that using the transpose function. If I double click here and wrap it up with this, and you get a serial number of sequential year from 2025 to 2034. Let's remove this and also clear format so we don't get any problems. If you want, you can get a sequential month name. Let me show you how you can do that. I'm going to write here equal to date, because we want month name here. Okay, I'm going to double click here. We want our date should be formatted properly, so we need to enter the first parameter, which is year. I'm going to write here year, and then I'm going to write here today, double click and close parenthesis twice. Okay, now what we have done here, we consider it from here. We write today, which will give us our today's date serial number. Then that number will be converted into year, and that year is our first parameter of our date function. Okay, and now if I add comma, we need to specify the months. Here comes the sequence function. If I write here sequence, double click here, our row is omitted or placed 1, our column should be 12, and then our start value and step value we don't need it. Okay, and then again day should be 1, and if I close parenthesis and press enter, we have month name. And why is this? Because we have some formatting issue. Let's clear the formats. Okay, so you will get a number like this, then select this, and from this number drop down click on custom, and from here remove general and write here and M, and here you have a sequential month name. Okay, now let me show you a 5 by 12 grid of additional data. Okay, so sequential number can help you create random data range. I'm going to write here equal to sequence, and the row, let's say we want 5 rows of data and we want 12 rows of data, and our start should be, let's add a random number from 1 to 100. For that I'm going to write here rand between. This is the function random between. Start value, let's say 1, and top value should be 100. Okay, so this is our start number of our sequence function. If I add comma, and step number should be, let's give it a random number from 5 to 10. Okay, I'm going to write here rand between again 5 to 10 and close parenthesis, and if I close parenthesis again, and if I press enter, and we get random number from here to here, which is 12 column and 5 rows. Okay, let's create a project here. Let's add employee ID here with text ID colon and then a sequential employee ID. We're going to create a dynamic sequential employee ID here. Okay, so I'm going to write here equal to sequence, and then our row should be, how many row do you want? Let's make it dynamic. Okay, we are going to count how many row we have data here in column D, and then we are going to convert it into our row number. So let's add COUNTA here. With the COUNTA function, I'm going to select the entire column because I know I will not add any data in this column except this tab. Okay, and if I close parenthesis, so it will count how many row has data in this column. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6, but the first one is our month name that we don't want in our sequential ID number. Okay, so for that I'm going to write here -1 and then add a comma. Our column sequence we don't need it. Our starting value should be, let's add 100 here, and let's add step value of 5. If I close parenthesis and press enter, we have a sequential number from 100 to 120, but we want also the text here which is ID number. For that I'm going to add here within double quotation, I'm going to write here ID colon space and double quotation close. Now we are going to add ampersand or concatenate function. Okay, now if I press enter, you have a dynamic ID number. What if we change the data range? We had 5 rows of data and now we want 10 rows of data, and if I press that, our ID number will be generated automatically. Okay, let's add a serial number here in the same way, and this is gonna be automatic serial number generator. Okay, I'm going to write here equal to sequence, double click here. Our row should be again dynamic, so we need to count how many cells have data in our ID number. Okay, for that I'm going to write here count A, and if you want to know how to use the count A function, you can check that also in this channel. We have created that a long time ago. So count A function and select the entire column, close parenthesis, and now here you can see we don't have any header in our ID number, so I don't want to deduct 1 from this number. Okay, I don't want any column and I don't want any starting point, because if I don't specify any starting and step point, it will automatically be 1. Okay, so I'm going to close parenthesis and press enter, and now we have a dynamic serial number using the sequence function. Now we have a dynamic ID number using the sequence function, and now we have randomly generated data here, and here we have automatically added our month number. Let's select this random number. I'm going to copy and right click and paste as value. Okay, now if I do anything, our random number will not change. Now let me show you something interesting. If I remove this line, okay, check our ID number and our serial number. Okay, as you don't want the ID number to be changed, so let's convert it to value also. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste this as value. Okay, so this is now hard coded ID number and this is now hard coded random data. Now if I remove this line, if I click on delete, and you can see we have our ID number removed, but here our sequential serial number did not break. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and here we had created our random data matrix using the sequence function, but you can also do the same thing using the random array function, which is equal to ran array. And I'm going to show this function in future videos. I'm going to explain that. And also what we have done here, most of it can be done using Excel field series. So if you don't have the latest version of Microsoft Excel, you can use the field series to do the same thing. Also, there are a lot of functions available that can do these things, but using the sequence function, you can do it everything with one function and in one go. This is what I wanted to show you. Thank you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial. If you can, support the channel through Patreon and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Thanks for watching.